Board of Directors meeting on December 15th, 2020 at 7 p.m. And we'll take roll call. Christine Kelly, President.
Jane Roosevelt, Vice President.
Gail Perry, Secretary.
Brian Carlson, Treasurer.
And so we have quorum, and Greg is unable to be here. He is still out to sea. Okay, so we have quorum. Our old business, we want to give you and provide an update on the postponed special assessment that will be coming out again in January with revisions. And we'd like to address that and why it was postponed. It was unfortunately a perfect storm of issues that started with Associa in 2019 under a former property manager. And from there, our annual audit was delayed until the end of April due to COVID. And then we did receive new information that negated what was initially prepared and put out. So with that, we did make the necessary adjustments and corrections. It will be substantially less and recategorized, as it was not interfund borrowing as initially stated. We worked closely, we initially worked off the Gladstone audit, but from there we worked closely with Susan Gambone and Kathy Tremblay, and they were extremely helpful, and we greatly appreciate it. So what we will be doing, we did a postponement, we will have a new assessment that the board will vote on in January. A mailer will go out on December 21st with more updated information. So we just wanted to provide that information to everyone. So any questions, feedback?
You said it's quite a bit less.
Mm-hmm.
Half.
Yes. Yes. So we received a lot of help and a lot of information, and you know, unfortunately it was a little bit of a perfect storm, and a lot of hard work went into it, and we obviously don't want to put out inaccurate or incorrect information or overcharge anyone. So it's, I think, in our best interest to pull back and then hold off and get it right and put it out when it's right. So thank you very much, Susan and Kathy, for your help with us as well. We'd like to acknowledge that. Okay. I'm sorry?
No, we're doing good. They're doing really good.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know, I guess we technically have a larger than 10. I think we're all spaced out appropriately. So for new business, one of the things we've had on our list of things to do, but things have been a little busy and a little overwhelming, especially with COVID interfering with a lot of things, is we'd like to initiate and reinstate some committees, and with that, we'd like to have a technology committee, landscape committee, hurricane committee, a social committee, once we can get past COVID, once again. What I've done is I put a sign-up sheet for each committee. We'll have to have a board member that is a lead on that committee, and then we're looking for volunteers and participation from our membership, because we really value everyone's opinion and expertise here. What we'll also do is, since there are a lot of people that aren't here, or hopefully will be coming back sometime soon in the near future, that might want to participate, we'll also put out maybe an email through Town Square and do posting, and maybe even a mailing to everyone to see what kind of information we can get. With that being stated, I know that myself, I will be the board member that will work on the technology committee.
I make a motion to name Lloyd Ward chairman of the tech committee. He's been kind enough to take that over for us. That's his expertise, and he can make sure that all our documents are up to date. And Jamie?
Could you review what the committees are doing, please, so that we can understand what being on the technology
is taking over the tech committee so he can jazz up the Gardens by the Sea website. Make sure the documents are up to date, there's pictures, so that's that committee.
You can also make sure that what's on Associa and Town Square also mirrors what's on the website, and that we just have it, you know, reflect more current and accurate information for those people that are, you know, a lot of times also interested when they're, you know, for the owners when they would like to sell units, rent units, people interested in purchasing, just having more upgraded information. And then for us to be able to use the Associa and Town Square as, I think, a better hub and more, you know, closer information and get information out to our membership quicker and more accurately.
Jamie, can you hear?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The landscape committee is just a team to look at the landscape here on the property and decide what needs replacing, what's dead, what you think we can do to improve it.
Curb appeal,
Yeah, suggestions,
improve our property
you know,
value.
what would you like to see up front?
We know we have some experts
Stuff like that.
in that field, you know, in all of these fields that.
I can't understand anything he said. Experts for what?
Experts.
Experts?
Oh, experts. I know, I just can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to speak clearly.
I know, everything is just.
I
go
know.
down a little
The
bit.
future social committee is just for things like, you know, if you wanna have a cocktail party on a Saturday night open to the owners, or barbecue,
It needs to
you know,
change the
something
name.
like that, a Christmas holiday function or something, but of course we can't do that now.
Yeah, I think we're
But
gonna get
for
into,
the future, then we can just, you know.
So that could be actually, be on the website, whenever the social committee comes up with, obviously, you know, you can
We can post it.
post all the stuff.
I don't have a computer.
well, don't worry, we'll always post the old school way. We're gonna knock on your door, and we're gonna always post on the bulletin boards and in the laundry rooms. That won't go away, you know.
I don't have it.
And, you know, with the way that our clubhouse looks now, I think this is something that we can all really enjoy together when we're able to do so.
The other thing,
Post more
I'm
things.
sorry, I'm sorry, Chris. The other thing that I wanted to do was, do some classes in here for eccentric stretching or yoga or Zumba or anything like that. And that would be fun, because there's plenty, I mean, I can do it in my apartment, but there's not a lot of room, but this is so much nicer. Whole big floor, and we can have a TV right there.
I think we'll
But
continue
that's,
to,
you know, post-COVID pretty much too, unless there's only like 2 or 3 of us in here.
you know, generate some more, you
Yeah,
know, community, you know, amongst one another. I mean, you know, I know there's a lot, we all tend to congregate maybe outside, but it would be nice to do things maybe in a little more organized groups. If anyone ever cares to look at when we were going through some things, there's some pictures way up top there, and they're pictures throughout the years, from all of the years of Gardens by the Sea, from a lot of the parties and a lot of really neat things. So, you know, there has been a really great sense of community here for, you know, since 1973, and we'd like to continue that. You know, this is a wonderful place to be. And the Hurricane Committee, I know we've had that and we've worked that, and I know we all really do look after one another, especially, you know, when it is hurricane time. But we just want to make sure that once again, when hurricane season rolls around, we have, you know, the right group of people that are going to address everything that the property needs. Because, you know, there's a lot of times we all have to leave, you know, and there are times that some people are not going to leave, and we just need to make sure that we're addressing everything that we need to there. So we'd like participation from those, obviously, that are maybe year-round residents or those that are here, you know, during hurricane season. So,
another thing to go along with the hurricane season, for the people that do stay here, that might be on the 3rd floor or in a building that loses power and they are diabetic and they, you know, need refrigeration or something, it would be nice to know, who wasn't here, like snowbirds or something, where we could, or you wouldn't mind if somebody used your refrigeration or your apartment, if another building was, operational. Some buildings use power, some don't. And I remember years ago, there was a couple here that, they lost power for quite a few days, and my mom put them in my apartment before I moved down here, so they could function basically. And they wouldn't have been able to if they stayed down in place, so just something to think about,
So with that, I just want to confer that Lloyd, we have made a motion and moved on that Lloyd will be in charge of the technology committee. Is that correct?
I second that.
Second, okay, motion was approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let the record reflect that Lloyd will be in charge of our technology committee. If there's anyone else that would like to head up any of these committees now and would like to throw their hat in the ring, feel free. Otherwise, we will put this out to everyone and we'll continue to work on these projects.
Did you mention the entertainment committee?
Yeah, social entertainment,
I
yeah.
would like to be on that.
You would like to be, would you like to head that, Camille? Or would you like to be on the committee? Okay,
But I would like to be on.
okay.
You can sign,
We'll sign you up and we'll do that. I would appreciate that. Thanks.
You know what, there's so much going on here that we have a lot of new people.
Yeah.
When I was thinking about the little club, opening on Tuesday night from 7:30 to 9, very low money. But anyway, it would be a get together.
Booker did?
Sure. I mean, it's another thing. We have the card table. We can, do, all sorts of things.
Is it a good space?
Mike, is that you that had a question?
That is not a valid conference room. Please enter your conference.
Correct. Yes. Yes, that's the, I don't know, if that's, since we'll post it in all formats, we'll do a blast email, we'll put it on Town Square for Associa. Even if we have to do a mailing, I don't mind doing a mailing, and then we'll post it on the website, so we'll do it in all formats. Oh, yeah, I know, you're right, kind of a waste, it takes too long, okay. Okay. Thank you, Mike. He just wanted to, I'm sorry, Mike Tremblay wanted to make sure that we would put it out there, especially on Town Square and on the website, and do an email to everyone, because there are people that will most likely like to participate that aren't here and would like to get here as soon as time and orders permit.
Welcome to the McAcat Food Conference Room.
Just as far as the landscape committee, I would definitely volunteer
Conference room.
on it if you would, be okay with that.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
sign up sheet is on the table after.
What do you want
That is not a valid conference room.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a valid conference room.
Really, I must be understanding.
Pete, what's your last name? Str-
STRELKO.
I make a motion that Pete Strelko would be the head of the landscape committee.
I second that.
I'll do it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record reflect that we have Pete Strelko from Unit 226 as head of our landscape committee. And thank you very much. We know you have a lot of expertise in that, and we appreciate it. I was kind of hoping that would happen. Okay. Anyone else? Hurricane? We'll put it out there.
All the rest of the workers being around.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so we will then move on, to the elevator project. Subject near and dear to everyone's heart, right?
I can speak to that.
And I will turn the floor over to Gail.
Okay, I did legwork on this and research from the past, and this started getting investigated in 2012, and some estimates, a costly project, so it was, put aside. And in 2016, that was the last evaluation, and it was recommended that because it was such an involved project, and it was so easy for a company to take advantage of us where it's not our expertise, that he recommended that we get an elevator consultant. So in one of our meetings, we voted to approve an elevator consultant, and we budgeted for it for next year's budget. I would like to make a motion to accept the consultant's proposal and move forward with the project.
For the elevators?
And we have, the consultant, Charles Richter, here tonight to answer any questions. So,
Maybe with that first, Charles, do you mind doing some presentation or information to our membership here?
this is Charles Richter.
Like you all said, my name is Charles Richter from Compass Elevator Consulting. We've been in business for 15 years in South Florida. I've been in the elevator industry, came down from New York in the 90s, from New York elevator to Miami elevator. My whole family's in elevators, but.
That's pretty grand. That's pretty grand.
I was contacted by Gail, I came out and did an evaluation of your elevator. They're basically original, they were manufactured actually in 1971. It's called a Dover 3-slot. As you can imagine, the codes have changed, technology has changed, and these elevators are being left behind. The parts are becoming harder and harder to locate, and eventually the word obsolescence in your contract is gonna come back and haunt you because they will deal with nickel and dime. On the second side of it, your codes are changing in the state of Florida. The code actually comes into effect on 12/31 of this year at midnight, and which will force you to upgrade your elevators. Now, whether the state gives you 6 months, 2 years, I have no idea. They have not posted that, but they are changing the way they're doing things. Your newer elevators will be microprocessor computers. They'll all be remote monitored. They're self-diagnostic. They're much more efficient. They're much cleaner, greener on the piece of equipment. And it reduces your liability. Right now, you don't have closed-loop door operators, so the resistors that break down in your door operator starts acting up. If it hits somebody and you go to court, you're gonna lose. If you've taken all your precautions and done the upgrades, it increases the value of your property, but it also protects you liability-wise. Along with the upgrade, you would have to replace your cab interior and your cab because it's wood, it's pressboard and plywood. It would only make sense to do it at that time. Any bells and whistles that you would want with your elevator, like you don't have emergency power generators, but let's say you have a power outage, right now they have battery lowering. If you do it during the time of the modernization, you're talking, pennies on the dollar. However, if you were to do it after, or 3 years from now, they would charge you top dollar. So we built a specification specifically for your building and what would be involved. And we would highly recommend that you move forward with a modernization. Even if, you do one elevator at a time, obviously, or even both at the same time, because they're simplex elevators, and get them done and be done with it before the state puts you and everybody else in South Florida that's in your shoes under a timeline. Is there any questions so far, or we? Sir?
What's the cost of replacing the single elevator and what's the time frame?
So the time frame would be 4 to 6 weeks, because you do incur work by others, because you're building any peripheral items that deal with that elevator have to meet current code. Currently, we're at 2013, and we're bumping the code up. So, and then the cost. It all depends if you go with a manufacturing company or a non-manufacturing company. you should be budgeted for about $300,000, $150,000 per elevator.
Is that basically the mechanics of the elevator or the,
That would be everything.
because I went across the street, they do their elevators,
Yes, ma'am.
and I know the president. He said those elevators decorated, a beautiful job, 10 grand an elevator.
For the inside.
I didn't go into the mechanics of it.
No, just the interior, the cabin interior,
Yes,
yeah.
that
You can
made
spend
it
a
so
lot of
much
money in there.
yes.
There's different stages of it, 7,500, 10,000, 12,500. You have a small cab, they're very small interiors, so your costs would be reduced on that side of it, they're not large. And then it's half, basically, an exterior elevator, if you will, so it'd have to be robust. I'd go with like a textured stainless steel, and there's different patterns, but that'd be up to you guys. I don't do aesthetics, I only approve to make sure it's code compliant and stuff like that.
So what brand is it, what is the warranty?
So in the contract, you would have a 12-month warranty where everything's covered. And if you really look at the contract, full maintenance contract of it, it's almost like a 3-year warranty because everything's covered regardless.
12 months, you say?
12-month.
That's very short period of time for that.
Well, it's
For that
a
kind of-
12-month period warranty is the standard in our industry.
Is it labor or parts or
It's everything.
everything 12 months?
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
That's you guys, but the manufacturer?
That's the installer. Forget the manufacturer, they're gonna bring you an elevator. Here's your elevator. You're gonna hire a company to install it. They're gonna install it. So during the 12-month warranty, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're covered under those 12 months. After the 12 months, and believe me, I go through the entire elevator on your behalf to make sure that it's been installed correctly. But after the 12-month warranty is over, you're still, all parts are covered, everything's covered. The only thing that's not covered is like vandalism, hurricanes, whatever happens with water damage or anything like that. They have no,
Acts of God, they call it.
there you go. They have no, control over that. The differential split would be you would only be responsible for the overtime portion on nighttime calls. In a warranty, everything's covered
But between the 12 months?
for the 12 months.
After
yes.
the 12 months?
And it's all negotiable. We're still down in an embryonic stage. Let's say you want 18 months. It generates a higher cost because they're covering it for a longer time. Now then you go into a full maintenance contract. Full maintenance meaning everything is fully covered, all the parts. There's no
Yeah, that's
obsolescence.
another budget, though.
So it's just, exactly, it's another bucket that they pull their money out
We
of.
just covered different things, okay.
Sir,
So, guards by the sea hiring you, you become basically our advocate.
I would work for the association, yes, sir.
And in this project, as we mentioned, our elevators are quite small. Is there any capacity for increasing the size and or relocating?
Yes, but you would have to find a common space on the exterior section of the building. And then probably extend catalog, you would be talking probably $500,000 per elevator.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Typically, when other associations in, say, just not high-rise, but in like these garden type settings like we have, do they do both elevators at once? Do people typically do one at a time? Does it, what's like standard?
Standard, what you guys only have simplexes, so you can, it's almost like two separate buildings, if you will. But you can use it as a tool during negotiating of the contract. It's a company with 2 teams here becomes more efficient. They have 2 guys, they're coming to the job to deliver everything to one building. They're doing everything at once.
So there is a savings aspect
But we
on,
would have to point that out to them during the time of the negotiating of the final contract to make sure that they fully understand it. We understand there's a benefit and it's not just one-sided. We want it on our side, the association side, not on their side.
This is for Christine. I have a 3rd floor unit.
Mhm.
Both elevators being out at the same time would not enable me to get my unit.
Understood, that's why, one of the reasons I'm asking questions
They
like
wouldn't
that.
be out at the same time, you said, Charles.
No, they don't have to, that's only an option that you would have. You would be the one that would tell them how they would do it.
What kind of cost savings would you get if you, you won't know for sure, but, you know, if you expect, say, 10% or more, 20% by doing both, or having?
No, it would be more like 3 to 5%.
3 to 5%.
Yeah, nothing significant.
Mhm.
Can I mention one more thing? Charles is overseeing the project from inception to finish, everything. So if we were to split up an elevator from, you do one year and another, that's not included in his consulting fee. He would be doing both. So that's another reason to do two at the same time.
What are you doing?
Two back to back.
Back to back.
Back to back.
I have one other
One
question.
that they were going at the same time, and people who couldn't get up the stairs into the
No,
elevator.
it would be back to back, 6 weeks, and then 6 weeks later, the next one would come out.
Mike, do you have a
It
question?
wouldn't be exactly the same time.
You know.
Okay. Because I live on the third floor.
No, one elevator would
Hold-
always
hold-
work.
Maybe you should just go over there. Yeah, I used to, for my brother.
Correct, so Mike, Charles, can you speak to, the question is, you know, since the building was built in 1973, what additional alterations or material alterations to the building or anything would happen since, you know, code has changed? Did I get that right, Mike? Did I paraphrase that? So can you speak to that, Charles, and maybe even talk, I think we all need to be educated. Can you walk us maybe really truly through process on, you know?
So what you do is you develop your contract, and you have 2 options. You become the GC, or you do a turnkey. My recommendation, I highly recommend turnkey. Your current building has no fire recall for your elevators, either one of them. By code, the new code, you would have to add heat detectors because they're open air breezeways. And they would have a phase 1 and a phase 2. And then you'd have a smoke detector in the machine. So therefore, if there's ever an emergency situation in the elevator, they would automatically recall either to your main egress or your secondary floor. So that is code. The other code is because you're going, the new equipment, you have to have a means to remove the humidity from the elevator mechanical, an air conditioner or a dehumidifier. Basically, an air conditioner is the cheapest way to go. It cools the equipment, it's a computer, so you want to protect that and keep the heat down, so you just do an air conditioning and be done with it. So those are the 2 major codes. Then we have minor codes that are still codes, and you would fail. 19-foot candles of light in the machine room, 10-foot candles of light in the pit underneath the elevator, access ladders to get down into the pit, which you currently don't have. All that would be bringing the building up to the code that's required right now. And you have door restrictors, someone put door restrictors on there. You were never required to have the recall because of the height of the building. But since that, they've changed the code, so the new code requires.
And when is this new code?
That code's been in effect since 2004, but you're grandfathered in currently. However, once you do the mod, it's no holds barred. The grandfather clause is gone.
Okay.
Now, the code that they're changing comes into effect December 31st. It says that elevator has to be able to monitor each door. I don't know if you ever see on the news where someone got killed up in New York and DC and from elevators. Due to that happening, they want the elevators to monitor whether the raceway door is open or closed and the car door is open and closed. Right now, you currently don't have that capability. So your new equipment will.
Which protects us from liability. Scotty?
Okay, so besides all that, my biggest concern would be for you. So you've measured everything, you've seen everything you need to do. I already know about the air conditioner, all that stuff. Where's that stuff gonna go? Because as my understanding, we don't have, first of all, adequate electric for it, or room to put it, you know, in the pit. So is there a system that you're spec'ing out in this that's gonna be able for that? Is it going on the outside of the building? Is it?
Correct.
What are we
Yes,
doing?
sir. It would be a mini, the air conditioner, as far as the air conditioner, it's gonna end up being a mini split.
Mini split?
And then as far as the mainline disconnects will all be changed, 110 outlet or mainline, 110 disconnects will be changed. Convenient outlets, GFCI in the machine room and in the bid will all be changed out.
And have you researched that?
Yes, sir.
Because this electrical system is like bare minimum here.
Yes, sir. And actually your power units, would be replaced. It was, right now you have dry units, and you would be going to submersible. So it would free up some space in there. As far as electrical, they do have the 110 mini splits, the one that you would have to use here.
So you guys understand that now it's changing the outside of the building, the common area, if you will, because now we're gonna have some things hanging on the backsides of these elevators.
Well,
So explain that a little more, because I think that's one of the things that Mike was speaking to as well.
So a mini split is you have half of the air conditioner inside the machine room, and the other half, the external half would have to be out here in your courtway or in the front. I would go with the courtway, but that would be your fault, that's not
Like
mine.
meeting in the breezeway, right?
Out of the breezeway to the left or to the right.
Okay.
And on both of them.
And again, just so you know, there's nothing you can do about that, it has to be that way. I
Yeah.
don't want anybody to think that I brought that up to,
No.
you know, give opposition to it. I brought it up so everybody's aware of how this procedure's gonna go, so you don't walk by and go, what's that?
when I went through this with Charles, he recommended that sidewall, when you come into the courtyard, it would be right there on the right. I mean, I don't even think you pay attention to it.
No. And then your landscape committee put like a little foil palm or something over there.
A little world phone.
So one more question, just so I understand this, so you're hiring your services out from start to finish.
Yes, sir.
Who's gonna vet the contractor, who's gonna help with
Yeah.
that? You are.
So explain that whole process, if you would, Charles.
So-
Honestly, like where you go from.
You get about a 65-page document, which is our contract.
Is that the draft you sent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we can have that draft
Shared with our,
printed.
All right, it's yours.
Shared for everybody to read, if you'd like. It's
So
I've
60
already read it, that's why I was asking the question.
Oh, okay.
So we generate that, we send that to the association. We don't send anything out basically without your approval. So
Okay.
once you approve that, then we go into vendor selection. I would highly recommend going for at least 8 vendors, 4 manufacturers, so it's all apples to apples for those 4 companies, because they're gonna be the priciest ones. And then you go for mid to small independent companies. There are no large, there's one large independent company, Oracle, over there. Everybody else is either mid-size or small. There's benefits to go either way. The biggest benefit for your independents is price. It's a non-union company, their wages aren't as high.
okay.
You already, we're giving them the roadmap on how to do the job. It's in there, it tells them what type of equipment they're allowed to use. It tells them how they have to install it and what the time frames and the parameters of the elevators have to be able to achieve. So then, that goes out to bid, sir.
Go ahead, finish.
That goes out to bid, we give them 4 to 6 weeks. I would only give them 4 because it's just hydraulic elevators. You get the bids back, I do a bid evaluation for you, you get the bid sealed, I get them via email, because it's easier for me. You get the numbers just as the same day I get them basically, so we're all transparent. I put a bid evaluation together with all 8 vendors. I go through their clarifications and their exceptions. We note anything that may be a hard stop for us, but may not be a hard stop to you. We bring it to your attention. We discuss it. We meet over about the bid evaluation. You can narrow it down to 4 vendors, and then we go for best and final, and try and get them to sharpen their pencils a little. And then after that, it's up to you if you want to award it to whatever vendor you want. We rank them for you, but it's only our experience with them.
Other than what you're doing here for the association, are we gonna need, have additional expenses for engineers, architects, any of that stuff, or are you providing drawings that are gonna be permittable for this?
They are required to provide it.
Who's they?
I'm sorry, the vendor that's gonna, whoever the successful vendor would be required to provide everything required to do the permits, the inspections, everything.
No, I understand that, but we're gonna need a set of drawings.
They provide that.
They're gonna, so obviously
part of
that's
their
gonna be an
bid?
additional cost too. So
That's-
not that they're gonna
No,
provide,
that cost is included in their price.
well, you gotta pay for it somehow.
So, yeah.
It's, if it's included or not, you're still paying for it.
Yes.
So what you're telling us then is once the board decides on who to use, and I guess that would be something else you can vet and see who's gonna give you those drawings, if you will, for permitting processes, and who can either, as he said, include them or has the best price for them.
Well, they're, and I'm interrupt, I'm sorry, but regardless, if company A comes to me, when they submit their bid, unless they took clarification or acceptance, provided the drawings, they're financially responsible for them. So, once they submit their bid, they're locked in for 60 days. The difference is you have 2 elevators. I have like 500 customers that I deal with. If that's the way they're gonna do business, we don't invite them to bid anymore.
Well, I don't take anything for granted, I mean, you know, everything has to be.
I've never in years, I've never had a company come back and say, oh, by the way, the drawings are $1,500. Never, they're included, they have to be, all the permitting, all the inspection, everything. What's not included is if somehow we fail, let's say you have a mover or someone's using the elevator and then we have to postpone, then you get a change in price. They're allowed to do that. But anything that they have control over and that they fail at, they're responsible.
So, the answer to my question is then that the companies that you're gonna vet have in-house engineers or whoever that can provide these drawings and provide
Yes, sir.
everything from A to Z.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, typically they don't have them in-house, I'd be misleading you.
or someone they work with.
The provider that so if they use motion control elevator, which is a third-party vendor, anybody can purchase it, anybody can maintain that equipment, they have the engineers. They're the ones who do it.
To follow up on that, will they be needing a survey?
They come out and do their survey, yes.
So they have to make their own survey, or the whole entire property, or just?
No, just the elevator. For elevator permitting, it's very simple. The elevator, there's only 5 jurisdictions in the state of Florida. The only thing they have jurisdiction over is what's behind that machine room door and what's in that wasteway.
Okay, so
Nothing
they need
else.
the whole site.
Yeah, they don't need anything else. And they build the equipment to match what you have. In other words, let's say you have 240 or even 220 with a highlight, that's what that controller has to be built to. So that is
Yeah, they'll come out, they have to do their own measurements and
correct.
build their own.
Yes, sir.
Drawing.
Well, they submit,
Somebody else can do it.
I can email you some survey forms that they come from third-party vendors, and it's like 75 questions that they have to come out and do measurements and
Right.
the door width, the door height, the rise of the building and everything like that. But yes, they're responsible.
I understand.
Eddie?
Won't this be considered a change to the common elements?
I'm sorry, sir?
Will this be considered a change to the common elements in the condominium?
I'm not sure I understand your question, the common elements.
I think you just went over that, the outside.
The outside, you're talking the exterior? It would, only for the air conditioning section of it would be visible from the exterior of the building.
You're not familiar with condominium law of what the common elements are considered in a condominium?
Only when it comes to elevators.
Well, that's what we're talking about, elevators, and that is a common element.
Actually, it falls into the jurisdiction of not common elements.
It certainly is.
Well, the interior and the air conditioner, but not the elevator itself.
I think it is. My point is that if it is considered a common element, then it requires a 75% vote of the unit owners to approve anything like this. And my other part of that question is, what is the management company doing for us in relation to this?
Nothing, I handled this, project. I did all the legwork, I did all the research.
Why wouldn't you use our management company? We're paying for them.
Well, obviously, she's capable enough to hire this gentleman who's giving us all this information, so.
It's
I
not
don't
the
see
point.
Why you need to pick on her. She's, obviously, all of our questions are being answered, and she's very capable in what she's doing.
That's not the point.
I can answer that, Eddie, because I feel more confident than depending on our management company. Because I get things done faster and more efficiently,
And more expensively too.
no, definitely not more
You're,
expensive.
you're definitely paying for double management. Management company is supposed to do things like this.
Your management company isn't licensed or insured to do anything.
Exactly, but they would be the one that would come up with you as a potential person to do this work.
Well, nobody's paying me,
I know that.
and I did a lot of hours on this, so, I
And we
actually,
thank you for that.
you're welcome, but I actually feel, I feel like
Being the person in the room that probably knows most about, common elements and the law, if you will, and being in the construction business, I don't think we're gonna need a vote if this is a requirement from the elevator company or the state or whoever these requirements are from that require this to be done, it has to get done. So if that air conditioner has to hang on the outside of that wall, we can not vote against it all we want, it's gonna get done.
That was your
So, and
intention,
just like
wasn't
the
it?
state.
Excellent.
So it has to get done, so. I mean, I'll just leave you at that, so, I mean, the board can do whatever they want and seek another
I
legal
think,
opinion
I
and one
think
that I just
the
gave.
points are well taken, at this point, and that is something that, we need to
Has to get
verify and look into his point, and then if it is so, and that's what it does require, then that's what we will do. And if it is not, then we can, proceed with what the standard is anyway.
I think we'll just consult our lawyer and get an answer to that.
Yeah, we'll absolutely get an answer before we do, any move forward, because we're not gonna, make any errors on that. Eddie, to your point, I understand, the concept of why, what the management company. I think we've, had some challenges with, certain things that, with some of our, quite frankly, the management of our association and some of the duties for associate property management. It's been duly noted to their management as well. And this was something that we felt also based on a lot of the information that previous boards had already done a lot of research and provisions on, that we went on a lot of that information as well. So that's where, we really feel that we vetted someone that has the best interest of the association.
The last, work done in 2016 was very thorough. And after reading that, I think it was clear that you can't do this project without a consultant, without someone to start it, follow it through the entire thing until completion. Just, we don't have the expertise.
And I agree.
One other thing, Chris, is,
Sure.
the committees, by our documents, a board member has to be a member of every committee.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
we did note that,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't realize who was gonna be on the landscape committee and the social committee from the board.
Oh,
Well-
you're right.
Well, we didn't,
We didn't think we were gonna do the landscape. Can we get someone from the board, to volunteer to be head of the landscape committee?
I will.
Okay, Jane, thank you.
Jane, yeah.
I nominate Jane to head the landscape committee.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I resign.
Thank you.
Chris, you're gonna be on.
Yeah, no, it was already noted that I'm on it.
You're gonna have enough time. So that leaves me.
And then you wanna do,
Brian, do you wanna
I'm
do
sorry.
hurricane? Do you wanna do hurricane?
I'll do hurricanes, I'm right now, so it's not on me.
I nominate Brian as the hurricane committee.
And I-
second, all in favor, Brian? Committing the hurricane committee?
Aye.
For the social,
I nominate you, Gail Perry,
okay.
on social committee.
I second it.
All in favor? Aye. Let it reflect that Gail will be in charge of our social committee and Brian will be in charge of our hurricane committee. I think as we circle back to the elevator, obviously this is a very important topic and it's a very expensive topic and it's something that's, it's critical. The north elevator, at this point, I'm calling motion elevator once and twice a week. The elevator it's not working quite frequently. So I just don't want us to get into a situation where we actually don't have elevators that work. I think that's what we're closely marching up to, and the goal is always to keep as much money in our pockets for as long as possible, but we know, we're all clearly aware that, the time is really coming to, get these projects moving, and we just can't, not address it. So, I think what we should do at this juncture, Charles, like you mentioned, I think our association actually really does need to see this draft, and everyone really does need to understand the process, how long it takes, what we can expect. We need to be able to share that information with everyone and continue to take feedback. And as Eddie mentioned, if it does warrant that we have to have a 75% vote, then that will be done as such. So if I can get your commitment to provide all that information and we can push that out to our membership, we can continue to take feedback at our next meeting.
I think you have the draft, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Do you guys have a deadline when you're going to decide, seeing how we usually have this issue with the elevator and the building code is going to change? Do you guys have a deadline of when it's gonna be yes or no or moving forward?
Yeah, we're looking at within 30 to 60 days that we do need to just really start moving and making a decision. Obviously, that we have a pending, the board has approved, having a consultant and moving forward with it. We know that has to happen. We like to, keep that gap, walk that line, as close as we can, that, we can, not have to assess ourselves yet, but we do need to start moving forward with the project. But everyone needs to be in clear understanding of, what this fully entails. Sure.
Charles, when we discussed this, you had said that for spring installation, we would have to get moving now.
Yeah, there is a lead time on the equipment. So-
Okay, so maybe you can explain that, again, inception to.
Yeah, even if you negotiated and went into contract typically with attorneys from start to finish the contract, you're looking at 4 weeks. And then once that's done and they receive their down payment, then you're looking at 8 to 12 weeks of lead time to get the equipment. Because it's built specifically for the building.
So when would you need an answer to begin?
30 to 60 days,
That's
I'm fine.
And another question I was gonna ask you about the financing. when does the company, you accept the bid, you decide on the company, when do they need like a first installment?
So at the contract negotiations, we negotiate the schedule of values. I would highly recommend that you go with a 20 or 25% down. They're gonna want like 45% down. You go with a 25% down, 25% when the material is secured on your site. You don't take possession of it because you don't want the liability or the responsibility of it. They're gonna deliver it on a container. The storage container requirement is on them, not on you. They have to put one in the parking space and you store their equipment there. So that's 50% you've paid them. Then when the first elevator is done, you give them another 25%. The second elevator is done, you pay them the remaining 25%. There's a 10% retainage on all payments. So at the end of the day, you're still gonna owe them 10%. And then we do a final walkthrough, a punch out. They have 15 days to correct it. And if they fix it in 15 days, then you surrender the 10%. If not, they have to come back out, do whatever they have to do to make it right or cure that deficiency.
Just a quick question on the final
Yes, ma'am.
payment, you don't have to wait until the final inspection to then pay?
They, after the inspection, and then after we look at the final payment, is when they surrender. And then with release of lien, you get a partial release of lien on each payment.
I just have a thought for the board and everybody in the room. He made some good points. I mean, I'm in the business. You got a lot of moving parts here, and you gotta get everybody in the road and everybody working. So obviously, the sooner you guys make a decision, it's something that has to be done. Look, it's 50 years old, not gonna get any better. No one's gonna be happy if somebody gets stuck in that elevator, has a panic attack, and maybe loses their life. I mean, listen, it's possible, it happens. But nevertheless, I agree with everything he said so far, and I think the board has made a very wise decision on getting him on board.
Agreed.
Great.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
Where do you send the checks?
No,
Let's
we
get going.
appreciate that, and I think that one of the things we can look at with, when we're looking at a timing in that 30 to 60 days is to have, maximize, our membership and have everyone, really see where we're going with this is to maybe make our final decision at our, annual meeting. Yes, Mike? Okay.
The only question is, when they submit their report or whatever, it will have the process and fairly confused people will get a full comprehension of what they're looking at, how much it's going to cost them, and so on for people to at least go along with it. We don't have a choice, but the more information that we know, the better it's going to be. Because I would hear if there is
So, Charles, just because we have people from Canada on the line here, so sometimes we get a little, it's a little hard to hear. And we're all wearing masks. So when we share this draft with everyone, that's gonna be an inclusive idea or estimate, or when we get all of the bids back, yeah.
Sorry, the draft that you have is a draft of a contract, which includes the modernization, the work by others, and the maintenance section of it.
Okay.
As far as the breakdown in cost of each component, no, it doesn't include anything like that, because if you go to Otis, you're gonna be spending $350,000. If you go to South Florida Elevator Service, you're probably only gonna spend like $200,000, maybe less. So it all depends the type of company that you're gonna go with would dictate how much you're really gonna spend.
Okay.
If I have the draft in PDF, if anybody wants
We're
to,
gonna send it out to the entire membership. I feel that the entire membership needs to see the draft. And then when we move forward with the bid process, we need to share with the membership at each stage so we can clearly understand, we're all looking at how much this is going to cost each one of us.
Yes, sir. But there is, I can send you brochures from different companies, I don't know if that will help. But as far as, again, going back to the cost, it all depends on the manufacturer and or the installer. There is a section in the draft that's red for owner special request. if you want them to park in the back of the building, if you want them to check in with your security, whoever, any special request like that, it would go in that, so that you will see a red line, and that's what that's for. If any special property conditions that you're aware of, that you want them to be aware of, not to make noise, their hours, I think I put, are from 8:30 to 6 p.m., they're allowed to make noise.
I think we're 8 to 4, 8:30 to 4
Okay,
p.m.
so yeah, you fall within that, and then, so anything, have your attorney and or your insurance provider look at your identification verbiage and your insurance requirements, just to make sure they meet your minimums. Any type of liquidated damage, obviously, raises the price up, but if you do go to a small company, I would recommend that we do get a performance bond, meaning basically an insurance, that if they go out of business or when the lot will leave, we're not stuck holding a basket of bills and equipment with ability to install.
Okay. Understood.
So those are the things that, it all depends, the final price can't be arrived at yet until we decide, or you decide who you're gonna go with. And that's the
Okay,
bottom line.
and that's something we need to share with our
Yes.
membership along the way.
We're looking into lines of credit. I think, Susan, you did a big project, was it the roof? Where you did a line of credit, yeah, so we can, tap the line of credit and then split up the payments over time, so it's not so painful.
Has that company done any work locally?
Charles?
Yeah.
Me? Yes, but I'll be honest, it's hard to find, like Century Village and Pirate Pines, where are we at? We're in Pompano, mostly up in Boca Raton, West Palm, and Miami and Fort Lauderdale.
But nothing locally.
Right here, where you can go see, I could give you, references all day long, but
No, I don't mean to put any,
I think I sent the company profile.
in case you wanna go out and look and see.
We'll share that.
He also sent a CAD brochure, and I just put some pictures up there, just as an idea.
Charles,
of,
you
know,
have
what
preferred
to do.
vendors and you use?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're always looking, so the question was, do we have preferred vendors? Yes, we do. But, so like, I was contacted by Urban Elevator, a company moving down here from Chicago. We need to go see what they do and how they do it, and then talk to their customers. We vet them before we get on our list. Sure. We deal with mom and pop companies, very small companies, and we deal with the 4 major companies. Some jobs are fit for smaller companies. This is a nice job for a smaller company. You're gonna get the bigger bang for your buck. You're gonna get the same equipment. If I could give you Coastal Elevator's phone number, you could call them. They install the same equipment that Otis Elevator installs, at a fraction of the cost. So why wouldn't you take advantage of it?
Well, you're the guy who's gonna sit down with the board and give them all them numbers so they can make an educated decision.
I would encourage to narrow it down to 3 vendors or 4 vendors. We beat them up on the price, then we come in here and you interview them. You see how many routes they have in this area. What's their response time? Give us 5 references. Give us a list of customers that we can call. And that's the way you come to the final decision. It can't always be about the dollar, although that's a priority. At the end of the day, we want to make sure you get the right equipment for the job.
And you always give us your educated opinion.
Yes, you did. I always waste my opinion on, if they're lying to you or misleading you, I will be the first to tell you.
Easier hammer.
Yes.
Yes.
Is our management company gonna vet the vendors also?
Well, your consultant is gonna be the one that's doing all the bidding and everything.
Yeah, because I put it.
I guess the answer is no.
So what I do is, going back to the draft, I send it out after you approve it. With your approval, I send it out. I give them 4 weeks to get it done. They submit their bids, sealed envelopes to you, email to me. I take a week and a half to review every single bid, every single clarification and exception, and we do, if there's anything I don't understand, we contact that vendor and we figure it out. Then we put a bid evaluation together, and then I present that to you. At that time, some associations like Charles go back and let's take the top three and go after them for their best and final. Or they just say, let's do interviews and see if they could, you eat them up at the table and try and get them to wiggle on the price at the table. Whatever the association or the board determines is the way that we do it.
And
Was,
then-
was Charles vetted by our management company?
No,
Is there something in our contract with the association that, I don't know what he's trying to get at, but he's assuming that associate is supposed to do this? Is there something in their contract that says that they're supposed to do this? I don't see why.
It doesn't say that they
We
have
voted, we
to.
voted for a board.
So if we
hired
then
a
run all
manager.
this, run this through, all of our vendors then do have to go through associate board.
Which means they have to be
payment.
licensed and insured.
Correct. And I was vetted by Gail, I sent all my
and
references.
you did send your stuff.
Certificate of
And they're
And
on board with,
everything.
they're now a vendor with associate.
Again, my partner is a professional engineer. He and I and been in the elevator industry for 27 years. He's more of the contract type, and I'm more of the operations type.
Eddie,
Gail, I'm not trying to disparage him, I'm just trying to figure out what our management company is actually doing for us.
okay, and I'm trying to not answer that question.
I can tell.
But,
No, I mean, he's been vetted and stuff, to be on board and stuff, as a consultant.
I would bet that the management company has no idea how to proceed forward with replacing these two elevators. And no disrespect to you, but as being a contractor, I would put all my money on that. So again, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. I think the board made a wonderful decision to get this gentleman involved and to move this thing forward. This is not gonna be an easy task by no means. And with a guy like this, that everything he said so far, listen, I don't know him from anywhere. Everything he said so far, I absolutely love. He's looking to pound some people for the betterment of the association, for money, for products, for everything he's saying is spot on as far as I'm concerned. If I was looking for anyone to do anything for me. So, again, that's just my opinion. I'm only one unit owner here. I think I got a little bit of validity behind me though to make that comment, so.
And you really need to have an elevator consultant, not just.
Do we have any, who represents the associate, the manager? You?
Daryl is our property
Okay.
manager.
You work for associate?
Yes, he does.
Okay, so, seems like, it's a lot of people that are not happy with the management company. We can hire them for maybe a year or two. Maybe a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
And when I send emails to them, I never hear from them anyway. So, I don't know.
Another topic of discussion. So,
Let
another
me
time.
just say that this young man over here will save us more money. I mean, he's actually gonna pay for himself, basically. $7,000 to do those two elevators. I'd hire GC for my place, and that was $4,000 for a little baby condo, 800 square feet. So to do all that work, $7,000. I feel like it's a little cheap, but I don't know.
Oh, cheap.
No, it's a lot of work. It's
No,
a ton of work.
understood.
It's,
And if they beat the schedule, then it gets cheaper, because then obviously it's not, we don't charge for service.
I'm just saying, we're gonna save money.
What would happen if during the process, say we just we change management company? I'm not saying we don't, I'm just saying in case something comes up.
That has no effect on me.
No, that has, doesn't here or there, where we run, finances or administratively, it won't, so.
The contract that we put in place, though, it does have provisions, it protects the association, it's in your best interest, and not the elevator provider's best interest.
I think the elevator is bad. The last time I tried to use it, I pushed the button and waited 5 minutes and come.
Yeah, I know.
Never came
The
down.
North elevators
You
get
could
a
go to
little
sleep by the
dicey.
time it comes down,
For sure.
you know,
Mhm.
but
Well-
it's safe.
Do we have any other input? I mean, I think it's been a productive conversation. It's a hot topic, obviously, and one that everyone has, you know, a lot of information and opinions, and it's something that, you know, again, there's no way that we can't march towards this project. So,
But the bottom line is it has to be done.
yes.
It has to be done.
Yes, well, that's why we went through the process to approve the consultant, and then we can then, from there, begin the process. So what the board will do, you know, we wanted to share this information, we wanted to get Charles in here, we wanted to get ourselves and our members educated on all of this, and, you know, share, you know, where we are and how we have to really begin the process. I think it's important for us to get the draft and information out to people, and then each step of the way, address all of the concerns that have been written down, whether it is going to be a material change to common elements, whether a vote is required, whether, you know, we have to reach out to our attorney, we have to look at a timeline, you know, all of those things need to truly be addressed. So I think at this juncture, I think we've sort of talked it out for this evening.
So what are you voting on tonight, to hire him?
He's already been
He's
hired,
already
that's
hired.
already been voted on. We
So
just
what-
wanted him to come in and talk to us.
Okay, so what are we voting on?
We're not voting.
We're not voting on anything,
We're not voting on anything
listening
right
to
now.
what you guys are doing.
We just wanted to, you know, get
Oh,
this
I thought we were
presentation.
getting ready to hire this guy to start moving forward.
We already
Yeah,
hired
yeah,
him.
we hired him.
Budgeted for him.
We have to go
We
through,
just have to
we have to go through
pull
the
the
draft.
trigger and begin.
And then also, you know, share this information with you. It's not just like, we hired him, we picked these people, this is when it starts. That's not how we wanted to do this.
So the only thing we really have to check on is Eddie's concern of the common element
You
change.
know, my attorney just texted me back, and he said if it's a safety issue or a code compliance issue, we got nothing to say in the matter. So, that's the answer, and I don't know who you're using for attorney, that idiot on Atlantic Boulevard, or if you're back calling.
All right, yeah, well, let's
Call
scare
them,
them.
they'll tell you the same thing.
Okay, well, we're not gonna,
So we
let's not
can just,
get into all that. So I think,
as soon
I
as we get
thank
an
you.
answer from, our lawyer, then we'll just call another meeting
And I think the more membership we have, that's, you know, it's really great to see everybody here, and thank you very much for attending. I think it's, you know, I really do wish there was a lot more people that were down here. Unfortunately, a lot of our members can't be here yet. So I think this is just something that needed to be, you know, discussed, you know, with everyone before we just made some unilateral move, okay? So, you know, one step at a time. So at this point, I think we're gonna close our question and answer discussion on this. The last piece of business that I had was, I know things have been, you know, a little different for all of us at COVID, but I just wanted to thank the several people that were very helpful in putting up our modified Christmas. And unfortunately, some of our lights still aren't working, but I'd really like to thank Susan, Jamie, Gail, Doug Rue, Tim Gill, and Brian and Amy as well for really helping and, you know, stepping up and trying to make this place somewhat a little festive. I know it's not the Christmas lights that we're all normally really used to. Our Canadian friends are, you know, so generous and have such a great system in putting things up, and it's just been a little different this year, but we didn't want to not do anything. So I just really wanted to thank you all for your help with that. So, and I think with that, we are going to conclude, and I will say it is time 8:08 p.m.